All right, guys, come on in. I'm pleased to be introducing Panel 4, Human Agent Interplay, Real-World Applications in SocialFi. We have a really rock star cast of panelists here that truly know a ton about the subject. So this one I'm really excited about. I'll hand it off to our moderator, Jarrod Barnes from Near, and he'll be introducing the panelists.
Amazing, thank you. All right, I know we have one of our panelists coming up, but folks, my name is Jarrod Barnes. I am head of founder success at Near, and we've spent a lot of today talking about critical infrastructure that is necessary to actually power all of these agent-based experiences. But what's also equally important are consumer experiences and who are using these applications and what are they doing differently because agents exist. That's exactly what we're going to spend the next 30 minutes or so digging into today. So I am excited about everyone on this panel who are either building consumer experiences with agents or growing ecosystems that have consumer experience with agents. So I'm going to go ahead and allow our panelists to introduce themselves. If you just want to share a little bit about who you are, what you're building, and to maybe kick us off, what you are most excited about in relation to agents that is now possible in the context of social that wasn't possible before. So I'll go ahead and turn it to you.
Thanks. So I'm Ori from AgentCoin. My background is more in DAOs and governance frameworks. And then at AgentCoin, what we've been building is a network of economic agents that specialize in solving multifaceted goals for protocols and users. And so how that connects to SocialFi is a few things, but the most relevant is an agent we released about a month ago called Indexer, which is a Farcaster social agent that uses adaptive social curation to help people find relevant casts or help particular communities curate relevant information. And so one area I'm excited about for agents and SocialFi is curation, because there's a lot of noise and it's not a simple problem of how to find the signal and the noise. And so you have clients like Warpcast that are trying to go about this using a centralized algorithm, which is very useful for getting things bootstrapped. But to really be a viable competitor and alternative to social media, we need more sophisticated user-centric curation mechanisms. So that's where I think agents have an interesting place to play.
Awesome. Hello, folks. I'm Lorny P. I manage all of our funding programs at Safe. We are more than just a multi-sig wallet. We are a highly technical account abstraction tech stack. We make it easy for builders to, depending on if you're an institutional project or if you're a solo dev, to have a highly secure wallet and very user-friendly tech stack to build on for your project using the account abstraction offerings that we have. In regards to SocialFi, if you're a SocialFi project, using our wallet I highly recommend it, not only because we're battle tested for security, but also with the capabilities that we have to use automated agents, partnering with Olas and the Valory folks for any of your wallet transactions. So thank you, and use Safe if you aren't.
Hello, I'm Oak. I'm one of the co-founders of Valory. I'm CPO at Valory, where I take care of user-facing products and make it easier for people to interact with these agent systems and the Olas protocol. We've built a lot of products and demos over the years, and specifically one of the big ones that we've put a lot of effort into is called Contribute, and it's a social product in itself, so I'll cover that later. In terms of what I'm most excited about, I would say I think the potential for agents to kind of mediate interactions between individuals in groups and in small small groups and large groups is unique. I don't think it's actually properly unlocked yet, if I'm honest, but we're on the way there, and I'll be glad to talk more about that later.
Awesome. Hey guys, I'm Sofiane. I'm from NewCoin. So what's exciting to us at NewCoin about the interaction between social and agents is the dynamics of sharing knowledge. So if we look at social networks, Social networks are organic AIs. You have humans who propose ideas. It's called human inference. And then you have human feedback, and it's called a like. And once you have a lot of likes, you end up getting a benchmark, which is your followers. So if you have a lot of followers, you have a good benchmark, people want to follow you. If you have a high benchmark like Claude 3.5, you end up getting a lot of users. And the history of that interaction is constructing a graph. This graph is a form of intelligence. And so what's very exciting is to see how we can take algorithms from where they are, which is the center, to bringing them to the edge, make them equal, make them play with us, and I'm very excited to talk about this today with you guys.
Hi, I'm Lena from Celo Foundation, and I thank you so much for talking about the contribution kit, because in Celo we have a hackathon series where we collaborate with Olas, and this time I got inspired by the contribution kit, because I think blockchain is like this technology to incentivize people, so and to take on and off-chain data and think about how can we create mechanisms and understand our user behavior in a way that makes our application successful. And for this hackathon, we actually collaborated with Subquery, who built a Mac tool that tracks on-chain data that people can build in their application, and then kind of build a rewards and loyalty system around that. And this becomes interesting when we combine that with something that's very inherent to Celo, which is that we focus on great user experience, and we are mobile first, and we have a phone library that is called Social Connect. It's a protocol that maps social identifiers to your address, like your phone number, your email address, Twitter account, GitHub, everything that you would want. And so we actually combine and bring together this off and on-chain data that you can track, and then really build round applications for that, and to fully understand your user base.
Thank you all. And I'm excited to dig in because we're quickly approaching a world where our predominant end user may likely be an agent. And that fundamentally changes how we think about designing social experiences. You talked about curation, you mentioned mediation as initial paradigm shifts or opportunities, but how should we be thinking about social experiences from a UX standpoint? What is now possible with agents, and in a world where we may have tens of thousands of agents on social platforms? What are some things that you think about at AgentCoin, and then also NewCoin and Valory as well?
Yeah, I think one is sort of unobtrusive personalization. So instead of an algorithm at a macro level, profiling you and then trying to inject things into your feed and having the incentive be to stay on the feed. With agents, the idea is that we can take back control for users in their control over their information diet. So you can kind of ask or have the agent suggest to you what is relevant, for your personal interests or your business needs. So agents can kind of shortcut that whole process of discovery in a highly personalized way. And then I think the second aspect is they can do so autonomously without your intervention. So today, when many of us think about AI and even agents, I think we think about chatbots, which is really just the tip of the iceberg, where you ask a question and it gives a response. And so definitely that's how a lot of kind of agentic experiences work today. But it starts to get interesting when you have these different agents that are specialized on different tasks, and they're coming back to you with results, or they're coming back to each other with results, and then you're like the CEO. They only bother you when there's an important insight that you need to see, or a decision that they can't make on their own and they need your help with. So that applies in a lot of domains, but I think specifically in social, yeah, it is really that curation piece and that information being retrieved more efficiently and without as much, surveillance.
I think one of the very interesting things that we've seen so far, particularly with a project called Create a Bid in the Olas ecosystem, is almost like a democratization around content production. I think if you look at social media, like social networks today, like the proportion of content and like impressions and views that are received are by like a very like tiny minority of people who are active on those networks. And projects like Create a Bid are essentially using agents to democratize and give access to more people to the benefits of creating content on these networks. And I think that's even more important in a full like Web3 context where those agents can be like directly owned by the user themselves. So that's one of the things which I'm really excited about, and it's definitely worth keeping an eye on. Create a Bid.
Yeah, one of the things that I had to think a lot about was like the SocialFi. As I don't know who here has Orb or is using Orb. It's like a protocol built on Lens, and I got my first airdrop. I'm not an airdrop hunter, but I did like a few posts on Lens in the last years, and then I got airdropped. And then I posted, I did some more posts, and I bought I minted some content, and I paid for that. And then I got another airdrop because I was active, but it looked very manual how this was distributed, and it was like really like some content moderators and some people that are active in it because it's so small. And I'm like, okay, I understand that now it's probably not possible to automate it yet, but like ultimately you would not want to have somebody sit there who like sends some tokens to the most active posters in some channels. So.
Yeah, and I think I probably see a tweet once a week that says crypto has terrible UX, and I think we probably could unanimously agree. Agents obviously present a unique opportunity to help solve for that. Curious, and maybe Lorny, we can start with you. From your perspective, especially in the context of social and consumer experiences, how agents can actually help solve for some of the UX challenges we face.
Yeah, one actually really cool example that we did. So we hosted a hackathon, a data and AI hackathon with Safe and a few other partners, Olas and Gnosis, to name a few, last year. And there was a really cool project that won first place called Unblock.ai, because if anyone has tried, who's maybe not well-versed in Web3, tried to create a safe, like, you gotta learn some things, okay? And we do our best to make that user-friendly in the documentation. But what the Unblock.ai did is they had a interface, ChatGPT, very similar, and you have a prompt, like, I want to create a multi-sig wallet. And so that agent there deploys a safe wallet on your behalf, and any other blockers, so they did an audit of like where in the wallet or multi-sig creation process happened, and then they automated that with a separate agent using a very smooth ChatGPT text-to-action user face. And I really hope to see more type of prompts like this to get Web2 users, and mainly like creatives who are really big and have a lot of potential in the SocialFi movement. But there's still that learning gap. So I would love to see more builders working on these type of prompts.
Yeah, actually the Unblock project was by the AgentCoin team. I don't know if you knew that.
Okay, bravo.
So we built that when we were just starting to experiment with agents.
Prompts.
And then have come a long way since. But yeah, that's like a lot of the inspiration for our transaction agents.
So we talk a lot about this internally at Valory and externally as well, is like what do agents mean for the user experience of crypto going forward. And ultimately, we believe that the vast majority of people are never going to interact directly with the protocols that we have on chain. Like they're never going to want to understand how to lock into V-curve and divert liquidity incentives to various gauges. And so in actual fact, like one of the big things which we've made a push on is creating an agent experience which is on the back end, like very heavily integrated with DeFi, crypto protocols, but on the front end, you basically like see very little. So it's called Pearl. It's a desktop application which you can download and run on Mac today. And in actual fact, funnily enough, talking about Safe, one of the big things which we wanted to bring with this experience was like a very high level of security. We want people to be able to spin up one of these apps and have it like fully recoverable. So we actually essentially with this app spin up a full safe, not just a safe, but also an agent with a safe in the background, and that's caused our engineers a lot of headaches, that's for sure. But for now, like you can download this thing and it'll spawn like multiple safe wallets, actually, all in the interest of providing one like much higher security for the end user and also like a completely seamless agent experience.
Yeah, exactly. I think for us, the way we think of agents is in a continuum starting from the book. So the book is a repository of information. For the first time, you didn't have to be there in person to say something, but you have something there that can say it for you and that can propagate and replicate and so on. And then the internet, let's do a big leap forward, the internet, and now you have the same, but digitally available for everyone, especially with Web 2, the ability to like instantly distribute and store every thought globally. Now what's happening is that those thoughts then not only propagate, but they are also responsive, they are also interactive, they can act, they can produce new knowledge, and they can act on your behalf. And so I think the rabbit hole here is like, how do we achieve a new definition of digital identity that takes into account the interaction history of you as a human, but also the accountability of what is done under your name. So today, for example, when there is a congressional hearing from Meta, it's like Zuckerberg going there and trying to explain what his algorithm has done to teenage girls. He's accountable for that. When we move to a fully decentralized world where everyone has a wallet and that wallet has a set of agentic functions that operate, you have to take accountability for that. And then it's like that continuum between the human intent, the agent actions, who gets to get the rewards for that, who gets the consequence of that. And that's a very fascinating design space right now, especially for crypto, because crypto is already trying to solve those coordination problems with humans. And now we introduce agents which bring an acceleration. And I think what's very exciting here is that a lot of the things that are difficult to get humans to adopt, we will be able to iterate very fast on this, thanks to automation. Like crypto is going to be accelerated by the ability for agent to work all day, all night, experimenting, testing stuff, and helping us accelerate the learning curve on like social implementation of crypto.
So obviously, designing social experiences with agents is a huge design space, and there is a lot to be excited about. But maybe just to bring some objectivity to this excitement, there are some inherent challenges. And maybe starting with you, Ori, what are some things that you're thinking about and forecasting just in terms of challenges in how you think about designing social experiences with agents?
Data.
Yeah. Tell us more. Tell us more.
Data is always the elephant in the room. So you can build an agent, you can build a really intelligent agent loop for making decisions, for analyzing data. That's all like fairly easy to figure out. But what's hard to figure out is which data to index, to the quality of the data that you have access to, deduplication, spam filtering. So what we found is that with every agent we've built, whether it's for transactions or prediction markets or for social curation or for public goods funding even, data is always the bottleneck. That can make the difference between a cool, interesting toy and like a game-changing, utility. So it's just a never-ending problem, right? Because you don't just solve it once. There's always going to be more data, and your data can always be made better or can get corrupted. Yeah.
We have no other challenges. That is the only challenge we will face in building agents.
I'm happy to go for it. I would agree with data actually. That's a big one, and to solve it at scale is a massive challenge. I think scale in general is a significant challenge. I mean, it's one thing to kind of like create one-off agents who operate on behalf of an individual, but to create like large-scale new social systems which compete with the likes of Facebook, which is like obviously has to be the aim of this sort of thing. It's just massively difficult, like and particularly in crypto where there's like such a coordination hurdle. And so I would say like coordinating around building the sort of agentic AI systems to power global social networks is like it's just like a massive coordination problem.
I think there is a massive win in the recommendation layer of social, because currently you have like one almighty algorithm that generates feeds. I think agents are introducing modularity and like the ability to embed and to switch and to say, oh, give me the best content, but from your perspective or from that guy's perspective. And like each agent has like a set of values or a set of things that it will look for. And that creates a very open, composable world for social media that makes it very different from what we have now, which is the algorithm is just going to try to maximize for more ads. That's the only goal. Like it has only one goal: stay on the screen, watch more ads, so we can make more money. And there might be other ways to make money, like educate me and I'm going to pay you for that, or all sorts of goals. And that composability creates an open market. It creates a huge market for AI. And I think we tend to somehow forget that the big daddy in AI right now is recommender systems. Like generative AI is like a very small microscopic industry. The trillions of valuation in AI now are still happening at the recommendation level.
Can I jump in on one last word? One thing I think with regards to like agents that are doing financial transactions on your behalf is one thing we always think of, not only myself, but safe, and I mean, safe is safe, right? We think about safety, which is security of your assets and your transactions. So like safety is always top of mind. And back in a few years ago, I was a data scientist and I've built out hate speech detectors. I've built out prompt injection type of bots, mainly just to essentially red team. And what I love about the AI realm is that you're seeing more and more red team efforts of people really trying to ensure that the models that are being ran and tested are safe. So there's a lot of red teaming groups that are covering certain languages like Mandarin to Hindi to Spanish as these larger language models grow. But I haven't seen that yet really in Web3, where it's like there are some groups doing more of the safety testing for some of these models and agents. But I would love to see that in the future, more people being proactive about red teaming and testing certain open source models and agents that could really not only benefit just DeFi projects, but like SocialFi projects as well.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think we think about security a lot when it comes to agents that have wallet access. And one kind of mental model we have is programmatic security, using features of smart accounts, right? Like guardrails, like limiting the functions that the agent can call, or limiting the frequency with which the agent can call those functions, or even limiting the parameter bounds so that they can only spend a certain amount of funds within a certain time period. So you can do that all pretty programmatically now with the smart account tech that's out there, with Biconomy, with Safe. And so that's kind of a lot of what we focus on with our research right now is the guardrail architecture so that the agents stay aligned and safe.
No, really, really great points. And maybe just to build on that, obviously, we have SocialFi up here on the screen. That's the topic of this conversation. And there are many use cases beyond just social networks in the context of SocialFi. Maybe just to keep expanding on that a little bit further, what are some of the use cases or even communities that you're excited about that that are experimenting with agents, or some things that you're eager to try as well, beyond just social networks?
So one community we're excited about is Farcaster. The really exciting part of it, other than having a great community, is the fact that the wallet is embedded into the social experience. So they've, I think in the last few months, released the ability to do transactions through frames. And so what we're really excited about is agents that live in your social feed that enable you to instantly, make transactions, right? Interact with protocols, buy things, sell things. So you can sell your services, you can buy digital or even physical goods and services. And that's kind of an area where we're really interested in experimenting further, because we already have agents living on Farcaster that people can interact with by just tagging them. But we really want to take that to the next level with frames that actually dynamically generate transactions that interact with the user's wallet. That's what we think that the Fi and SocialFi can really unlock.
I'm still excited about all things autonomous agents with regards to DeFi and relating to smart accounts, like how can we automate the processes, not only for building and setting up a smart account wallet or a whole stack, but also just seeing like the future of, where people are gonna take AI and smart accounts. Like it's a really nascent, like super hyper niche realm, and not only for builders, but seeing if we can fuse that with gaming and if we can fuse that also with SocialFi, aka VTubers.
So I mentioned it earlier, and I'll double down on it. I think one of the most exciting applications of agents that I see in social applications is mediation. So that could be mediation between the user and the content. So like, is this content suitable for me? But also like user to user. So how can agents like facilitate interactions between individuals to, I don't know, I mean, in a dating context is maybe a bit more obvious, but like, people just trying to build friendships or relationships around common interests. That's something which is, I think, uniquely now unlocked partially by LLMs, but also you need the agent in there to make that happen. And I think that's even stronger when you own your own agent, and that basically that agent has a context about who you are. Beyond that, I think there's something related, but also very interesting in community formation. So how do you get from the point where there's a disparate group of individuals with a common set of interests into some sort of situation where they're actually like interacting regularly, even forming groups and working together. So yeah, mediation is the thing which I think agents really the biggest potential I see them unlocking.
I actually was talking to Gabriel from Gnosis AI earlier about like how you could also use like the trust network, like a trust network that you build and kind of like build reputation. Like first of all, what you said was recommendations, like having like a trust network where you can have something like Facebook where you're like, do you know this person? But you could have like some ZK aspect, so it's kind of safe for everyone. Or you use it more as a reputation for, I feel like with hypercerts, they already added a lot of AI, and I think a lot of like these grants programs, they have so many issues that they are facing, and having some kind of like machine learning that can support them, I think, and now they already added that, and having some like, I think agents supporting that and like adding the reputation there, or like the trust network at that level as well. I think that could be very, very interesting.
And maybe final question here, and then folks, if you have any questions, please, we'll have a couple minutes to ask at the end. We've talked about a lot, and there obviously is a huge white space for the future that we're really excited about. Curious, how do you think this will change how we behave as humans on the internet by adding agents to the mix, whether that's curation, whether that's mediation, whether that's how quickly we build friendships or meet someone that we may not have met before. And we can go down the line. What do you think is the biggest thing that will change in the future as it relates to human and perhaps agent interaction?
I think the most interesting potential is if it leads to kind of new emergent economic activity that couldn't have happened otherwise, that matchmaking problem that markets face in being efficient. So if agents can make markets more efficient, then people can more easily monetize their time and services, and they don't have to go through inefficient labor markets and inefficient corporate structures. And agents can be more so like mediating like economies, and we could maybe even have a proliferation of new currencies and new barter credit systems that were too complex for our small human brains to do with calculating. Like we need like a price, right? But the agents can think multidimensionally about value. So what I hope it can achieve is a more colorful economy.
I have a bit of a different take. I do think, I 100% agree that agents can be like our helpers, but I also think that they'll bring back some of the humanity, and this is a little controversial, but I speak from experiences of friends that come from indigenous communities from Brazil or from the Basque Country that are doing like language preservation, but also keeping the humans very much in the loop to preserve the knowledge that would otherwise be like completely outdated or phased out. Really making that effort and having that community of folks to create knowledge share between an agent to, again, like stay not only up to date on the education and relevant in the AI agent economy, but also really just to pour into the next generations, knowing that the likelihood of these agents are not going anywhere, so you might as well learn about them and not fear them instead, to preserve that part of humanity. So being able to work with AI and not fear it, and educating others in a really humanistic way. And what I mean by that is like not sense, education tools from the White Towers and of the FANGs in San Francisco, but like actually creating that ripple effect from your local community and in your language and empowering people to build and to also learn about AI. So
I think at a certain point, the way that things could look different is that as a civilization, as kind of a global society, we're able to move in a particular direction in a much more aligned way potentially, or like do much bigger things as a civilization, because just like the inefficiencies and the around coordinating around big goals, I'd say currently is, we know how difficult it is, and I think that's a massive opportunity which agents can help with. I think that there are huge risks with that as well, because the moment that you have agents mediating society, individuals in society, groups, then you also introduce a massive risk around like biases in those those agentic systems, like how much control the individuals and groups have over those systems, which mean that we could also go very far astray as a civilization as a result of that. So yeah, I would say moving much more as a whole is where we could go, for better or worse.
I think it will definitely take us to decentralized AI. So what I mean by that is like just remove completely like blockchain, decentralization, cryptography, all of that. Just the idea that you have an open source model that is running on your device with your own knowledge graph, and the goal of that technology is to serve you. It starts from you, it starts from the nodes of the network. Now you have a massive network of humans who have that little computer running that tries to coordinate with the other computers. That's decentralized. Compared to, OpenAI or Google or all those technologies that concentrate data and so on. You have a technology that's starting from you to the rest of the world, and then the interaction between all those AI models, agents, gets us to decentralized AI without even any concept like crypto and stuff. Of course, it makes it much better and it adds a lot of great stuff for synergy, but yeah, that's kind of the main thing that I see changing, which is starting to think of algorithms and AI as like having your own car versus taking the bus, having like your own, guns versus relying on the police, having your own autonomy basically in doing all the things that AI has been doing until now.
Yeah, I think the thing that I'm most excited about, and I think that fits also very well to Celo's mission, is like that it will just improve the user experience so much. And I think if we want to like reach mainstream adoption, if you really want to like bank the unbanked with blockchain technology, AI and agents will be a huge part of that. And so we already started trying that out in our little experiments. But it's been incredible to see what people have been building. And I think you just said like different languages, how people can communicate with each other. And yeah, suddenly they get access to a technology and to toolings that they weren't able to before. We had like a tool that somebody built where you can just like, with natural language in any language, just like initiate a transaction. And I think that's just like a very small example of what can be possible in the sense of like financial inclusion. And yeah.
And just to summarize, and thank you all for that perspective, I think what I'm taking away is that agents dramatically shrink the amount of time it takes to experience value on the internet. And that value can show up financially, that value can show up socially, that value can show up in a lot of different ways. So very exciting perspective. We have a little bit of time for questions. If anyone has a burning question for any of our panelists, we have a few moments. Yes, no? Well, we do have a question, all right.
Thank you so much. I have two questions for Ori because you mentioned two very interesting directions like you guys are building. One is Guardrail AI. Like you said, you guys are building an architecture for guardrailing like AI because safety AI is such an important issue, like super safe intelligence and AI safety, either for the content or just trying to limiting human like bots to access the blockchain. That's a really urgent issues, and I hear you guys are building an architect for that. I would love to hear more.
About the architecture? Yeah, so there's basically we safe smart accounts, for example, have these modules that let you customize account logic. We were also working with Biconomy, which has something called the Delegate Authorization Network, DAN. And so they have a dedicated AVS that handles the permissioning for smart accounts across chains. So basically, we can have an agent that can handle accounts across multiple chains. And then the way that those guardrails are enforced is it's outsourced trustlessly to this Delegate Authorization Network. So it's kind of like newer tech, and smart accounts generally are, have only started to get adoption in this last year. But basically, there's a lot of untapped technical infrastructure for pretty sophisticated programmatic guardrails that we're starting to experiment with.
Any other questions? Any other questions?
I have one final announcement. We launched a gas station, so for any builders that want to build on Gnosis or Polygon, there are sponsored gas transactions, so you don't have to pay gas as part of the program. Go to our blog or Twitter.
Does anyone else want to shill anything while we have another 30 seconds here?
Yeah, why not? I mentioned it earlier. We have a new desktop app for running agents. So we're like a lot of talk about agents, and this is a very easy way to get started if you're on a Mac. So you can go to olas.network/operate, and you can download it from there, and you're on your way. So yeah, we'd love to see some of you doing that.
Yeah, go ahead.
Hey, so with AI and hallucination, how much can we trust on it for security, and how much can we rely on it, taking consideration that sometimes it fails, sometimes it's like weird how it works. So yeah.
So one model we use is constrained outputs, where there's a finite set of actions that the chain of thought can result in. And so you're not going to have the agent doing something crazy like sending all your funds to the zero address. because, yeah, other than the guardrails we spoke about earlier, you can have a very large yet finite set of actions. That's one answer. Maybe it's a lazy one because it is still a problem. So there's techniques you can do through fine-tuning or prompt engineering that can reduce the incidence of hallucinations. Yeah, but it's a problem, and we're waiting for better models and definitely better open source models to make the applications work better with less failure.
You can run simulations in your Safe wallet. So before you send a large transaction, you can simulate it, make sure that it's secure. And there's also our recovery hub that we have as well, if you lose access to any of your SIGs on your multi-sig.
Also, one last shill. Go to @indexer on Farcaster and ask it any question, and it'll take a minute going through all the data that is indexed on Farcaster and generate a dynamic frame with casts that are relevant to your query. So this is one of our experiments in social curation with agents. We have lots of other agents you can try out. Go to the AgentCoin Discord, and there's agents live in the Discord that you can use, and it's all subsidized.
Amazing. Well, let's give a round of applause for our panelists here. Thank you all for your attention.